Hey there, it's Melissa with Atlas CFO, and today we're talking about calculating labor rates. It's all about what is in your labor rate and how to calculate it. Now, labor rates can get a little crazy. There's a lot of different terminology that's used, and so today in our time together, we're going to be talking about the cost. So you can have the cost of the employee as a labor rate, or you could be using it in terms of a customer rate. And so that would be the customer labor rate. Today we're talking about the cost of labor. Since it is the cost of labor, it can go by many names. And if you follow me or watch any of my other videos, there's a lot of those. There's a lot of things that go by other names. So that makes it super confusing. Labor rate could also be known as a burden rate or a burdened up rate. True cost of labor, fully costed rate. I've even seen a compensation report that is used so that they can determine the true cost of labor. Whatever you want to call it, what we're talking about today is the labor rate that includes all the costs associated with that employee. Now, in an earlier video, I said it's like an employee with a backpack, and those other costs are going with that employee. And we're going to talk about how you can calculate your own labor rate and what all is included. One of the more advanced items is, are you calculating a pool, labor rate pool, or are you doing it per person? Again, for simplicity, we're not going to talk about that right now. We go into labor rates and burdened up rates more in All Access. So if that's really something that you are interested in, you can certainly reach out to me or check out that course. Okay, labor cost. Now I'm giving you my favorites. This is not an inclusive list. This is just a suggestion. So a labor cost would need to obviously include wages. That one's pretty easy. That one's in everyone's. Then we can add some low-hanging fruit, payroll taxes, employee benefits like vacation or retirement costs, and then I've added insurance with multiple options because there are multiple options on insurance. You could have work comp, you can have general liability, you can have a health insurance, you can have a life insurance. There's a lot of different pieces that would go into that. This line item is based on the employer cost, not the employee cost. Sometimes the employee may elect to have some additional insurance. That's not this one. That is just employer. Some other ones to consider. So that first page, those are usually pretty easy. The second page is getting into, you may want to consider adding something for cell phones or communication. Trucks, truck allowance, fuel costs. Again, think about the type of employee. You could have a service tech, and that service tech's labor cost might look a little bit different than someone, let's say, that is working in the shop. And it's okay to have different ways to calculate it. Just understand that there can be differences, and this is yours. This is your labor rate. You can make it whatever you want. It's up to you. Other items are tools, consumables, and certainly safety. And then I said wild card. Okay, what does that mean? Well, in my experience, everybody has something that kind of like bothers them and they want to include it in the labor cost. And that can be a pretty wide option. I'm putting in wild card because if that immediately triggered something for you, you're like, oh, that's something I want to make sure I include in my labor cost. There, that's your little reminder that I'm going to put that in all of my mathematical equations. So you can see that you can get crazy. Right? You can start like, I'm going to put everything in. I'm going to get all of my overhead expenses and I'm putting everything in. Whoa. Before you do that, just start small. Just start with maybe just even the first page. Like just start with this page and then decide whether you want to add anything, whether you add the wild card. You don't have to do it all in one fell swoop. Just do it. Just start and then you can change it from there. So the next piece of this, so we've got our numerator. All of that was our numerator. That's the top part of the mathematical equation that we're running. And then we have the denominator, which is where we also have some variances, but typically it's one of two. It's either labor dollars or labor hours. And it truly depends on your shop and which one you like. We've got some people who really operate off of a dollars perspective. So they want to know that my burdened up labor is actually, $65. And we have other ones that want to operate more on a per hour, or they even want to divide out the burden portion versus the wage portion. You are up to you. The beauty of this thing is once you have the system, you can modify it to make it work for you. So if you're going to use labor hours, we recommend that you start either in your payroll, or sometimes even job costing will have reports for you that show you the amount of labor hours that are being incurred for either the person or the period of time. Remember, you can do this by person, annually, monthly. You can really build an expansion pack on this. Start small. And if you want to pull your hours, don't forget that you can maybe pull them from payroll, because a lot of times you'll think, oh, where am I going to get this? You may start with payroll. There could even be a report specifically in your construction accounting software that is labor hours per job or labor hours by job. That can be really helpful, because you could even go in and look at what your labor rate is on jobs. I shouldn't have said it because that's going to make you think about something else to do. Don't do that. Okay. Labor dollars is another way you can use a denominator. And what you're doing there is you're taking the denominator by the total cost of labor, so the total dollars of labor. You can see how that would change things if you're going to divide it by total dollars versus if you're going to divide it by hour. Again, you get to choose. You're going to choose a method that works for you and just try it for a couple of months. See what your results are. See how those labor rates look for you. And this is your labor rate. It doesn't mean that your competitor calculates it the same way. In fact, dirty secret, they don't. Everybody calculates it just slightly different, and that's okay. They have a method that works for them, but this is also why you get some variability whenever we start talking about labor costs. You start looking at estimates, as you can see how quickly we could change the labor rate just with a couple of line items. So just start with something pretty simple. So I'm giving you just a really simple example. Probably my favorite one is just to just keep it simple for the first one. So you can see I've just taken those first page of ideas, and I'm just going to say I'm going to take my wage, I'm going to add in my taxes and a vacation and health insurance. I'm not even going to go into work comp or GL. I'm just going to make it really super simple. I just need to know what this employee is actually costing me. And then I'm going to take that amount and I'm going to divide it by those hours. So you have to make sure you're apples to apples, but you're going to take those dollars and then divide it by the hours so that you get a burdened up labor rate. You have the true cost of that employee. I think this is probably the best way to start, is just taking the easy ones that are available to you that you can find. And then once you see this rate, it's going to help in estimating. You can then take that and decide how to use that within your organization. Thank you for joining me on a little bit more complex topic, but it is one that we get asked about so often, and it has so much interest that I decided I had to at least dive into the subject and see what we could do together so that you can start building your very own labor rate and creating what you like. And that doesn't mean it has to be what the next person likes. It's what you like. So in All Access, we have the templates that you can use, and you can build your own using our templates. And we have certainly more about job costing. I think there's over 100 videos and templates and how-tos in All Access. It certainly keeps growing. Every month it grows a little bit more. So if this is something that you would really like help with, head over to our website. You can also shoot me an email at hello@atlascfo.com, and we're happy to help. Thanks for spending time with me, and go build your labor rate. Talk to you later.